Right. 15 April 2025. And today I've got one of the most important stories that I've covered in a while. And this is to do with what is happening in Zimbabwe, one of the most corrupt countries right now. And I'm going to demonstrate to you today that under Mnangagwa, Zimbabwe has become a jungle, or what we can call the wild, wild west of Africa. So let's get started. And we want to start with what has happened with the Zimbabwe examinations for high school. So when we talk of high school, we're talking of A levels, O levels, very important examinations that will determine if you get into university. So most of our universities are producing students that can't even read or count. And you wonder why. Now, that has been revealed. The reason why our university graduates cannot read or count is because the whole exam system in Zimbabwe is bogus. So everything that is happening right now in Zimbabwe is bogus. And currently, all exam printing has stopped. So all exam printing has stopped because all the exams, and I'm saying all on purpose, all the exams for high school, O level and A level, have been leaked into the public before the day of the exams. And they were being sold on the open market by officials within the Zimbabwe Examinations Council. And currently, no one inside ZIMSEC has been arrested. So no one inside ZIMSEC has been arrested, but a young man who had created a group, a dealer, was arrested in Kwekwe. He is a student at the Kwekwe Polytechnic, and his name is Tatiwana Frank Chimenya. He was arrested for selling the exams since November 2024, and they've only stopped it now, just before the exam. So the exam is just about to be set for, and there's no way that they're going to change this exam. About 900 people have officially been confirmed to have bought the exams. And I'm talking about the entire exam of O level and A level in Zimbabwe being leaked into the public and being sold on WhatsApp. Money was being paid into a bank account of someone called Admire Magaya, and this person has not been identified. The person who was selling the exam inside ZIMSEC has not been identified. And basically what this means is that if you've got an O level and an A level certificate from Zimbabwe, it's worthless. It's not worth the piece of paper that is written on. You would rather go for the Cambridge exam. So if you're a father, make sure that your child will just have to sit for a proper examination, which is the Cambridge exam. It is clear that our guys in Zimbabwe are not capable of running an exam, and the exam from Zimbabwe is worthless. Right, I'm back. Terrible. I don't know what is happening to my network this week. It's become extremely difficult for me to connect. So let's see if I'm connected. Let me know if I am connected. It's terrible what's happening. Let's see if I am connected. Let's see if I'm connected. I'm going to be quickly checking if I'm now connected. I know that some of you were not able to see me over the past minute or so. So let's go back to what I was saying, which is that the exam is totally bogus. All the exams in Zimbabwe are totally bogus, being sold on the open market. So basically what a normal country would do under such circumstances is to ban the whole exam. This year, there should be no exam. Make sure that the next exam is only written next year. That is to make sure that there is integrity. But at the moment they won't do it, you see the exams still going on, and it makes no sense. The Zimbabwe exam making no sense at all. Now that I finished that, let me go to even worse stuff. The Minister of Information of Zimbabwe, Jenfan Muswere, if you go to Hopewell Chin'ono's Instagram, you will see that Hopewell has been carrying this story. Hopewell Chin'ono has been blocked again by another prominent person. And this is because he has exposed Minister of Information, Jenfan Muswere, of not having any degree. So that is no master's degree and no PhDs. So he claims to have 2 PhDs, but it has been proven that he doesn't have the two PhDs and he doesn't have an MBA. So go and check it out at Hopewell Chin'ono's Twitter and also on Facebook. I'm sure Hopewell is posting on multiple platforms. And this is crazy. Let's see how Mnangagwa is going to react to the fact that Jenfan lied about his qualifications. I always knew that there was something strange about Jenfan. Very strange. Why Jenfan would behave the way he was behaving. And it's clear now that he doesn't have the proper qualifications for the job. So now that he lied, let's see if Mnangagwa is going to fire him. And then when I go to another corrupt story, even worse, everything is corrupt in Zimbabwe. There is nothing genuine. Very corrupt people are running government. Let's look at what has happened in Bulawayo. Remember, I covered the story that Zimbabwean IDs and passports and birth certificates are being printed. So what the Zimbabwe intelligence have done is they've gone and arrested a man called Brian. So Brian has been arrested, and another man called Thamsanqa Moyo has been arrested for printing fake IDs. But they've not gone back and found out who is printing the birth certificates, who is putting these names in the system, and who is making the genuine photocopies. So basically what's happening is that there's a company called Dokma Private Limited. And if we were to carry out an investigation right now, it's clear that Mnangagwa Chivayo will be involved in that company. That company is digitizing the Zimbabwe registry, civil registry. That is your ID and your passport and your voters roll. So basically, Dokma Private Limited, if you find out who are the owners of Dokma, then you find out who's printing fake Zimbabwe IDs and passport. And this is what is happening. They've arrested the simple guy on the streets, the runner, but they don't want to go after the mastermind. So I challenge Zimbabwe intelligence, CID, go and arrest the proper people who are behind the selling of our IDs. And to Mutamba, I don't think he understands how important the ID and passport of our country is. Mutamba should carry out a proper investigation. Anafoto and Mangwanya, they should carry out a proper investigation. Who is printing the birth certificate, fake birth certificates, fake IDs, fake passports, which are currently flooding the market? So I hope that they do carry out a proper investigation. Now, this is crazy that a whole country, has got nothing but fake IDs and passports. And I'm talking about thousands and thousands of these things, including right now people who are arrested and in jail. The whole of the Harare Passport Office, Civil Registry, there are almost 20 or 30 staff members arrested in jail for this kind of thing, for faking IDs and printing fake passports and fake birth certificates. So you need to carry out a proper investigation and find out who is Dokma. That person who owns Dokma, that is the one that is responsible for masterminding the fake IDs. And I can say without a doubt that it will be Wikino. If you look at Wikino and Mnangagwa involved in this crazy scheme where they print fake IDs. So today, how many fake stories have we covered? We've covered the leaking of the exams. So all Zimbabwean exams leaked. We've covered Jenfan Muswere, Minister of Information, with a fake PhD, fake MBA, and now we've covered Zimbabwe with the fake birth certificate, IDs, and passports. Is there anything real in this country. It's unbelievable what is happening in Zimbabwe. And this is all because of Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa arikuraya vanhu nenzara. Right now, let's go to the key event for today. Today, we're going to be having the University of Zimbabwe strike. So the teachers at the University of Zimbabwe are going on strike. And as I said, I would like to ask the students not to go to school today. Don't go to school. Support your lecturers. Make sure that they get a proper salary. And when I'm talking about a proper salary, I'm talking of at least $2,500 for a lecturer at the University of Zimbabwe. So my appeal to the University Teachers Association of the University of Zimbabwe is that do a proper strike. Don't just stay away. Document your grievances. Go into a meeting with the admin officials of the University of Zimbabwe and get a commitment to get a salary increase. And they communicate properly what would have happened. So don't just sit at home. Do a proper process. If it doesn't work, do the next thing. Don't stop now and say, we've done 1 day strike. We want a proper outcome from this process, which is to say, after we finish this strike for today, all the lecturers at the University of Zimbabwe must be having a proper salary structure, which is $2,500 a month. And then we want this to expand to other universities. So other universities, Great Zimbabwe University, Midland State University, NAST, Solusi, Africa University, Manicaland University, Midland State University, Lupane University, all those universities. We want you guys to earn proper salaries. $2,500, that is the minimum salary for a lecturer. So let's make it work. University Teachers Association, show some strength and negotiate properly, a proper structure. Don't get out with nothing because we've supported you very much. And mapedza motenga doro mozotenga doro kana mukarika kutenga doro next time ndikusapotei vakomana tengai doro after this kutamba hangu malecturer angu ekunast nekuuse it. You guys deserve a proper salary. Previously, a salary of a lecturer in Zimbabwe was $5,000. One of the most highly paid jobs was to work at NAST. And this is because of funding. There was proper funding for these salaries. At the moment, there's no funding. And university authorities are very lazy. So use it. Your authorities there, they need to be active in finding money for you to get paid. You're going to get a lot of money because there's a lot of money in education. So let's make this happen. And as I said, don't just do a 1 day strike and communicate properly. The union, WhatsApp me of the outcome, and you guys at the University of Zimbabwe, make sure that you communicate to me what would have happened today. We want you guys to get a lot of money. Use that. And I'm talking here about the lecturers specifically. We need to attract the best lecturers. And I've got no doubt that this is one way we need to go with this situation. You could use it. Then I want to jump to South Africa. I'm going to stay in South Africa for a while. It's very important what's happening in South Africa. Specifically, South Africa is just about to be booted out of the G40. Well, is it G40 or G20? G20, right? South Africa is just about to be, guys, is it good? China with G40? G40 is another square. So South Africa is about to be booted out of the G20, and this is going to happen before the end of this year. The reason why South Africa is being booted out of the G20 is because of the fight with the United States of America. Specifically, the ambassador of South Africa to the United States was thrown out, Ibrahim Rasool, after he made some inflammatory comments about President Trump. So yesterday, President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed Mcebisi Jonas as a special envoy to the USA. The reason why they appointed a special envoy and not an ambassador is because there was a big chance that President Trump was going to refuse to accept the credentials of the new ambassador. So a special envoy doesn't have to present credentials to the president. So that is why they appointed a special envoy, Mcebisi Jonas. Mcebisi Jonas is the chairman of MTN. That is one of the biggest telecommunications companies in South Africa. He's also the chairman of Northam Platinum. So he's going to hold these two positions and also be a special envoy to the United States of America. The brief of his appointment is to counter the negative, what they call a negative publicity of South Africa in the United States. So what they want to do is Mcebisi Jonas will then go to the United States and directly talk to people in the Trump administration and influential figures in Washington. However, it's clear to me that before they address the two key issues, the United States is not going to change how they view South Africa. So the two key issues are how the South Africans are dealing with the Afrikaners, basically. That is one of the big issues. And then how South Africa is engaging or having a relationship with the Hamas and Iran. So those three issues are very, very important to the United States, and nothing is going to change until they address those issues. However, the South Africans, they don't want to change. They are not making any move towards changing on those issues. So you're going to see by the time we get to end of year, South Africa will probably have been thrown out of G20, although they're going to be assuming the presidency. So why would they be thrown out? They'll be thrown out because, firstly, South Africa has got the lowest GDP of the G20. They actually don't belong in there. They are what is called DEI. They are just part of it, just because it's good to have an African country in there. But I believe that they're going to throw them out. South Africa has also set up some priorities for G20, which conflict with the United States of America. And the United States believes that you should be in there for what you call meritocracy, whereas the South Africans are talking of other things. So they're talking of solidarity. I think they're talking of solidarity, equality, and all those kind of things. That is what the South Africans are talking about in G20. And that is totally opposite to what the United States want for G20. So you're going to see a massive fight between the United States and South Africa. And I wish luck to Mcebisi Jonas here, who is going to be going to the United States. The United States is not a country that you can just change their mind. Once they adopt a policy, I believe that they stick to that policy. And normally it's you who has to change. So if you are a country, you are the one that needs to change, not the United States. They're not going to change for you, especially if they designate your country as a state sponsor of terrorism. So you can imagine South Africa has been designated as a state sponsor of terrorism by the United States. So I don't think that the approach that they've taken now is enough. They need to do more. Particularly, they need to change on those key issues of Hamas and Iran, and then also on how they are dealing with the expropriation without compensation and genocide against the Afrikaners. That is basically what the Americans think is happening in South Africa. And we are aware that President Trump has said that he's not going to be coming to the summit of G20 here in South Africa. And the issues are just so many. They need to be addressed. Funding has been pulled out of South Africa. That is not coming back. US aid was employing over 20,000 people here in South Africa. And they've pulled out. Massive job losses have taken place. And it's affecting many, many sectors of the economy. Yes, and then now I want to look at more stories in South Africa. Let's look at what else is happening. Let's look at, firstly, the power cut that has been shocking the country. So in Gauteng, in Tshwane, the suburb of Centurion has gone for 12 days without power. That is after this transformer blew up. So the transformer in Centurion, in about 5 or 6 suburbs, has blown up, and they've been failing to fix it. So it's been gone for 12 days without power. Jobs are being lost. And as we speak, they have not even addressed it for those 13 days. And some companies have lost massive amounts of food, especially food companies. So if you're around Centurion areas, it's not advisable to try and eat in a takeaway. You are probably going to eat meat that is being frozen using ice. So terrible. This is bad what has happened in Centurion, and the city failing to address this transformer for 12 days. Imagine how much money is being spent on other ways of making or getting food just by households, on top of the loss that is made by businesses who can't operate. So if you've got a car wash, if you've got a food joint, you can sell, and people are basically operating in the dark. Very sad what's happening in South Africa. This is terrible. And then we go to Mediclinic. Mediclinic has announced that they're going to be retrenching a huge number of their staff. This is as they restructure in preparation for AI. So AI is impacting the way that these companies are operating, and they are going to be removing staff, especially from the admin and shared services. So if you work inside of admin, health sector, any sector where AI is going to have an impact, you should see what is happening in Mediclinic as an example of what is going to happen to you. Most affected sector will be banking, insurance, and medical sector. Then you look at logistics, you're going to have a big impact there. Education, there is massive impact coming because of AI. Mediclinic is one of the biggest group, in fact, the biggest medical group in South Africa. And they want to save $100 million or 2 billion rands by 2027. So that is by retrenching staff and offering early retirement packages to staff members. So very, very interesting what is happening to do with the AI. Artificial intelligence is destroying everything. Then let me see if I've got anything else that I want to cover here. President Duma Boko has met with the Zambian special envoy and AFDP candidate Samuel Maimbo here. So they met yesterday. You can go and check out the video on his Facebook page. So that is President Duma Boko. Very interesting conversation that they had. And also, Dr. Maimbo has promised to assist Botswana if he is appointed or voted into that position. So it's very interesting. Let's see what happens with Samuel Maimbo. I don't know much about him, but I know that he's an established banker. So let's see if one day we can have all the candidates in a panel and they discuss their policies or approaches. I've not yet seen that. What I've seen is just each regional bloc is backing somebody, but I don't really know what it is that they have to offer. So Maimbo is interesting, but I think South Africa also has a candidate. So let's see how that goes. Is Maimbo going to come to South Africa? And what is going to happen? Who's going to be backed by Southern Africa or SADC? SADC has already made a statement and they back Maimbo, but South Africa has just gone up against all that. They say they want to back their own candidate. So very interesting. Let's see if he's going to convince all the other countries to go against South Africa. Okay, and then let's go to Ghana. So Ghana has thrown out South African group, Goldfields. So Ghana is given Goldfields 1 week to close their mine. So there is mine that was running for 25 years, which was run by Goldfields, called Damang Mining. So there was a 30-year lease, and that lease expired. On expiry, Ghana just said, these guys must leave. Goldfields currently has 2 mines in Ghana, that is Takwa and Damang. And the Ghana government they had 10% stake in both of these mines. So let's see what happens with the other mine, but the lease for this one is ended. And I have a feeling that Ghana is adopting a new strategy for mining, especially for gold, because the reason why Goldfields was thrown out is because in 2023 and 2024, they declared that there were no reserves in this place. So Ghana was like, okay, there are no reserves, bye. So they said goodbye to Goldfields, and Goldfields is now complaining to say, why did you cancel our lease? And Ghana is like, if there's no reserves, what are you doing there? So that is how it all ended, and that is how it went down. An interesting story is the Victoria Falls Cricket Stadium. It's almost done. So if you haven't seen it, the Victoria Falls Cricket Stadium is almost done in preparation for the 2027 Cricket World Cup. So go check out this story. I'll find you proper pictures of this whole stadium in Victoria Falls. Okay, I think I've covered almost everything I wanted to cover here. Let's see what is in the newspapers. I want to quickly look at the Herald newspaper and see if they've covered anything of interest. And I want to look at that newspaper right now, Herald Zimbabwe. So Herald Zimbabwe, according to what I can see here, have not yet published the paper. Let's see if H Metro have published anything. H Metro Zimbabwe. H Metro Zimbabwe. Okay, they have also not published anything. So there's nothing in the H Metro right now, according to what I'm seeing from my site. And then let's see if there's anything in the Chronicle newspaper, Chronicle Zimbabwe. So Chronicle Zimbabwe also hasn't published. All right, they have published. So let's look at the Chronicle newspaper of Zimbabwe. So Chronicle newspaper is the Machiavelli newspaper that is covered in the southern region of Zimbabwe. So let me show you what they've covered in the Chronicle newspaper of Zimbabwe this morning. So according to the Chronicle newspaper of Zimbabwe, Mnangagwa has met with the head of Chinese delegation and the executive vice governor of Jiangsu province, Mark Zin, who paid a courtesy call on him at State House in Harare yesterday. So Mnangagwa has met the Chinese, and I didn't see him talking. Mnangagwa doesn't talk these days because if he talks, he's going to make a mistake. And you know that Mnangagwa is suffering from vascular dementia, so he's failing to organize his thoughts, and it's embarrassing. Now, let's see at Jindu. Jindu slept 2 life sentences because they are resentencing these guys were on the death row. So that is Jindu over here, one of the serial killers from Zimbabwe. But I want to go back to the Chinese. The Chinese are causing massive damage in Zimbabwe and Zambia. Their mining practices are terrible, and they're destroying the environment. Rivers are being polluted. In Zambia, fishes are dying. So eventually, the Chinese have to be held to account for what is happening in these countries. It's terrible what's happening in Zimbabwe because of the Chinese. Okay, and then the story here about automation plant boost flour production at National Foods Limited. So that is an interesting story over here. And with this pretty young lady, Euro Film Festival adjudicator Sibongile Mlambo, to mark its 10th anniversary, has unveiled an ultra short competition inviting young Zimbabwean filmmakers to showcase their talent. So if you want to meet Sibongile Mlambo, make a small film and you will see yourself with an iPhone and you get to meet her. And then there is a tender at Kaza for the construction of 3 duplex flats. So if you're into the construction sector, here is a tender. You can get this tender if you're interested and build 3 duplex flats inside the Zambezi National Park of Zimbabwe. So it ends on Wednesday, the 14th of May. So that is when the bid debt is, if you want to build these duplex flats for Zimbabwe, the Zambezi National Park in Zimbabwe. I think I've covered almost everything that I wanted to cover. Now let's go to Comrade Nyoka Mabunu. Yesterday, I tried to get hold of Comrade Nyoka Mabunu. He's still not reachable. Someone has put a message this morning to the effect that Comrade Nyoka Mabunu's phone is broken. However, I will only believe it when I talk to him. I haven't talked to him, and his phone is not broken. It's not broken until I see him talking. We are also waiting for Mdarakeza to come out and address us. It's very, very important for us to understand what's going on. What else? Let's look at the comments. Does this mean there's a movement? Impeachment failed. It's not failed. It's coming. And then Gambakwe Mnangagwa is gone. You can take that to the bank. Yes, Mnangagwa is gone. He's got vascular dementia. He's going to deteriorate very fast. And what's going to happen is Mnangagwa, you're going to see him in public. It's going to happen so quickly. He's going to deteriorate so fast. You are going to beg him for him to be impeached. It's going to happen. I can hear you watching from Botswana. Thank you very much. Good morning. We go from Europe. Yes, thank you very much, everybody. And let's go to our sponsor, Mve. We're currently running a 2-for-1 special in the UK. So if you're in the UK, you can WhatsApp the numbers on the screen and you'll be able to get 2 packets for the price of 1. So our Mve is the best. There is no Mve like ours anywhere in the whole country. So we are the only people with 200 grams of Mve. This is 1 month's dose of Mve, the most powerful herb in Africa. It does everything that you can imagine, including snake bites. If someone is bitten by a snake, if you give them Mve, they will be healed. That's how powerful this herb is. And all the other things here are Papakan's benefits for men. Look at the top. That is the most popular reason why guys are buying it. And I want to go Europe. Notaka kuchikisa to my baby to go Europe. To not teaser, to just screamer. Kuti taona monster. Ndiwe uyo. I'm really worried. I'll say Nyoka ya Mabunu. Guys, kutabangu. I see monster. ED will only leave office in 2028 after elections. There is no room for General Chwenga, and you can take that to the bank. I don't want to take it to the bank. Chwenga kasimba wakobana. Chwenga is the most powerful man right now. The state of affairs is such that over 60% of all security structures in Zimbabwe now back Chwenga. I'm talking about military, prison service, intelligence, who else? War veterans. They back Chwenga. In fact, 90% of the army now back Chwenga. And I'd forgotten Air Force of Zimbabwe, Reserve Force, they back Chwenga. Mnangagwa has no support because of corruption. So Mnangagwa is so corrupt such that everything in Zimbabwe is falling apart. And everyone is just following the leader in corruption. So everything in government is corrupt because of Mnangagwa. That is why people want Chwenga to get into office. Chwenga is considered to be someone who's very ethical, who is not corrupt, and who's going to transform our country. Also, Chwenga has promised to increase salaries of all civil servants to a minimum of $1,500. So if you're a teacher, a nurse, intelligence, police, soldier, Air Force, the minimum salary in the civil service of Zimbabwe will be $1,500. So there is nothing that Mnangagwa can do now. Mnangagwa has nothing on his agenda. His projects are not finished, and Mnangagwa is facing impeachment on the 6th of May. So please understand what I'm talking about here. This is for own good. Support Chwenga, support Mdarageza, and don't support Van Wasina any agenda. Mnangagwa has got no agenda. He's got nothing, no plan. And the only thing Mnangagwa is doing right now is to steal your money and put it in his pocket. So every day, Mnangagwa, all he does is steal money from the government and put it in his pocket Currently, they have stolen 10 tons of gold from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. Guys, 10 tons stolen. And Wicknoch has taken $580 million and stolen it. That's how much money they stole with Wicknoch. 1 billion rands was stolen by Wicknoch, and the South African authorities are currently investigating $1 billion, 1 billion rands, which was stolen by Wicknoch and Mnangagwa in South Africa. So very soon Zimbabwe will be blacklisted because of the behavior of Mnangagwa, and it's critical that we get this man out as soon as possible. And all senators and councillors, they know what needs to happen. Everyone you see in this picture right now is part of Gananda. You can see Opam Chinguri there. You can see Mdara Yonganga, Yoma Glass standing there. And you can see Valerio Apo behind there. These guys are stealing very badly, stealing all our money, and the change is needed as soon as possible. Right, don't get me going. Don't get me going, guys. It's terrible what's happening in Zimbabwe. Right, I think I've covered everything for now. We're going for I'm aiming for 3 streams a day until the impeachment. So 3 streams a day until impeachment, and we see how it's going to go. Not much of ED news today. Thank you for giving us balanced news. ED, Argoravan Nenzara. Nagaba Argoravan Nenzara. Right, Rifungai Mungati says disgraceful page must be shut down. That is the biggest page in Africa, the biggest and the most active streaming news service in Zimbabwe. You want to close it down? Fungai Mungate. Zora Rimfana uyu is Zoro. Point. Tokupai point. Tokupai point. So Zinga Gambakwe. Maybe no Zamgaite. Zungaita better. Okay, I'll let you thank all of you for watching. I'll be back here as soon as we have some breaking news. I'm expecting some massive breaking news to come out today. And as I said, let's recap on our story, our top story. The Zimbabwe examinations, all of them for high school, have been leaked. So that is O level and A level. The whole exam has been leaked. Every subject. They were being sold on a WhatsApp group called ZimSec June 2025 exams. And all you had to do was to deposit money into an e-wallet account of a guy called Admire Magaya. And once you deposit money there, you get all the papers and you'll be able to pass the exam with flying colors. That's why our students cannot read or count, because all the exams are just being given to them and they write it and they pass. And currently, the person who's leaking the exam inside ZimSec has not been identified. So they don't know who's done it. So they've stopped printing, but it's too late to set a new exam. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to find all these exams just being written and people passing. The one guy that was arrested, a student from Kwekwe Poly, Tadwane Frank Chiminya, is going to appear in court on Thursday again. But it was just a runner. This guy's not the one who leaked the exam. The real culprits are inside ZimSec. ZimSec is rotten. They've been leaking exams for years. And you must fire the whole group. Let's find out who's the chairman of ZimSec. Chairman ZimSec. Let's find ZimSec chairman. Right. The current chairperson of the Zimbabwe School Examination Council Board is Professor P. Mapfumo. He was appointed on 1st July 2024. The vice chairperson is Professor DZ Moyo. Saka these two Varoi. No Varukuroya. But let's see what the pictures. Right, let's do pictures here. ZimSec, so embarrassing. What a terrible institution. Varoi. About Takat. Vamnangaba. So, Edwin Mwenje, Mwenje, board chairperson. And then Milidzani Faith Masie Moyo. She is the vice chairperson. Okay, I think this is the old structure. Now let's go to examination. Miss Milidzani Faith Masie Moyo, Mr. J. Dewa, Mr. Mhlanga, Sitimai Mahlanga, Jocelyn, no one who leak our this team here. They leak in the IT. Yeah, these guys were IT West, Jambwa Simbi, Dewa, Gundani, and Mhlanga. Oh man, these guys are bad. So I guess these are committees, some sort of committees, worst committees ever. Board of Directors governance, poor governance, Eddie Mwenje and Faith Masie Moyo. You are the worst people leaking the future of our country for $30. Munosemesa, Zimsek, Manosemesa. I don't know why a country would compromise their own identity system, their own exam system, and their own passport system. And then you appoint people like Jenfan who've got fake qualifications. It's only Mnangagwa who can do such things. Very corrupt people. And also have Wikino doing everything. Very corrupt government Mnangagwa. These guys must go. You can clear this equity. If we continue like this, we have no country. We have no one left. Ernst, I'm so happy you summarized everything. We need systems. Our country needs systems. And these guys have got poor values. We need new leadership in our country. And today, University of Zimbabwe lecturers, don't embarrass us. University of Zimbabwe students, don't embarrass us. Make that place a desert. We don't want anyone at the University of Zimbabwe today. Stay away and make sure that our lecturers get $2,500 salaries. I think I'm going to pop a vein. So in this semester, I don't know what to do. First is that is my office was wakashata Zimsek ukashuka paya zvonyadzisa. Zimsek, I think Zimbabwe Open University is better than Zimsek. They are managing themselves better. I hope they're not leaking the exams there too. So, guys, let's get this. Let's fix our country. Don't allow this to continue. Mnangagwa must go on the 6th of May so that we have a new country, not ease. Even our children can't write proper exams. They are selling everything. Anything they can find, they sell it. Terrible. Right, I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and I'll see you again during the day. And a good day.